I'm going to pass the microphone to Gustaf Lilliehöök. He's a partner and head of business development at Nordic Real Estate Properties, Denmark. I asked my friend Mette, CEO of GBC Denmark, to present me someone from the Danish context to share some experience of DGNB. And she said that it would be very, very interesting to hear someone from the investment side, a fund who is investing in real estate. So in that sense, I'm happy to have Gustaf over here. I don't know if you hear me on this moment, Gustaf. As you know, on this moment in Europe, there are 5 countries who are certifying DGNB. We have Germany, the starter, Denmark, which is maybe one of these countries that in very, very very little time, maybe 4 or 5 years, adapted the tool to their context and implemented it. And there are now whole cities like Copenhagen, we as a public administration are compromising themselves to certifying all their buildings and urban developments. Switzerland is involved, Austria is involved, and in Spain we already had maybe 3 or 4 or 5 buildings certified with DGNB, the international version and the international system, and we will now be able to offer the tool in Spanish as a language and in Spanish adapted to legal to the legal context. There we have Gustaf. It seems that today the whole internet connection of Europe is somewhere failing, but okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Bruno, my sincere apologies.
Don't worry, it's good to see you. It's always nice. Well, I already introduced you as the head of business development of the Nordic Real Estate Properties. It's an investment fund. Danish example of really being convinced that sustainability is the only way to develop buildings and cities the coming decades, and that you're using DGNB as a tool, as an instrument, something that is a partner in the process. So I'm happy to listen to you, and please share with all the other ones your knowledge, some insights. The floor is yours, the mic also, so in that sense, go ahead.
Yeah, super, very good.
Gustaf, maybe you can just already introduce a little bit on
very good. Yeah.
What's the Nordic Real Estate Properties. Okay.
Yes, very good. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Gustaf, and I'm with a Nordic focused real estate company, and the idea was to just well, today first quickly give you an overview of sort of our approach to sustainability in a broader sense, and then the role of sustainability certification within that, and then looking a bit at our experience and perspectives with regards to the costs and benefits of certifications. So if you could then scroll down here, yeah, let's do one more. Just maybe to give a little bit of sense of the sort of operating context where we're using this. So we're a team of roughly 300 professionals across the Nordics. So a relatively large team, and we have an in-house sustainability team, a corporate team of approximately 5 people. And then we have within our specific business lines, additional people that are focused or have part-time focus on sustainability only. And we are, yeah, I'd say, so roughly we have currently about 100 something developments in progress, and we are a value add manager, sort of in that sense that we, and a developer. So a lot of the properties that we invest in, we have relatively short holding periods for, we also have one business area where we're having a longer sort of time horizon, so for long-term ownership, and that impacts also a little bit what we can do with regards to sustainability, but also certifications. So if you go to the next one, then let's skip this one. Sorry, I realize we're a bit behind time here. So Anna, can you go to the next one? Yeah, okay. So then the way that we approach it and organize ourselves is that we have business lines focusing on different real estate products, ranging then primarily sort of within different residential products, from student housing up through micro apartments for young professionals, up to then more senior living, mixed generational co-living products, all the way up to care homes. And then we're doing some more city development type work, and we're very active also in logistics. So just to give you a bit of the range, and these different products, of course, have different types of real estate and different sustainability priorities, both with regards to then social and environmental. Now, what we then try to sort of say, what we have been focusing on, you could say, is so how can we build an organization and a culture and an approach where sustainability is not just added on as an afterthought, or where we sort of miss the opportunities and we sort of just go through checking boxes. And then I'd say that so this is in terms of then looking at the pillars as we have them at the bottom here on this slide. Then there is the sort of more general parts of sort of making sure that we build, but also recruit, sort of the spirit, but also recruit people that have that intention, that we take a long-term approach, both at the asset level and to our strategies, and that we really put our money where we can have a social impact. But then the fourth pillar here, systems, tools, and knowledge to act. I'd say this is the big, piece to really step from ambitions to action. And here, if you step to the next slide, Anna, I would say that then DGNB certification and sort of
next slide.
Sorry.
Next slide, please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. Then, yeah, now you jumped a bit ahead, but anyway, just making the point here on when it comes to having systems and tools, then we have historically actually not been using certifications as we haven't been really forward-leaning in this area, and then I'd say it's only in the last 2 years really where we have reassessed and found that, well, we really need to have a common language for dialogue with external, both contractors as well as investment partners, local institutions that we invest with, and also towards other stakeholders. And just having then internal standards for development programs or developments it maybe works internally, but it really becomes very problematic and quite unwieldy to manage, and not very effective actually. So there then we have DGNB identified as our backbone, you could say. Now, when we think about certifications, there's, I think that when talking with many market participants, not least contractors, the first thing that really comes into focus is cost. And here.
Next.
Yeah, next, please. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And here, I mean, I think that there's we've seen a journey both at a market level as well as within NREP and our company, where you could say as the market journey, that is then really that as the number of competent service providers has gradually increased over time, as the number of contractors that are used to working with these certifications have increased, and they have a larger comfort. They don't need to price in larger buffers because of a lack of knowledge of what it means to achieve a certification. That has come down dramatically in the Nordics over the last, I would say, so 8 years. And then I'd say that in parallel with that, then we as a company are, I'd say that we can do a lot to also bring cost side down by being more knowledgeable, both as a buyer of the certification sort of services, but more so also more knowledgeable about how do we make these processes efficient and effective for everyone involved. And but more so, I would say that there's an important part here in the sort of value. So rather than looking at certifications as a cost, they're really looking at them as a value driver for processes and outcomes. And there, if you go to the next, yeah, so the next one after that. Sorry about this. There we go. Yeah. So I think that here a little bit along the same dimensions, sort of, it's really about sort of then stepping away from what we saw, if you step sort of a couple of years back, then the use of certifications really then being seen as a cost, but also being used really as a reactive accounting exercise. And then, yeah, then justifiably so, one can understand that it's seen as a cost and not actually adding value as such. But if you go to the next step here, then, but if, as we see it, then there is, and that's when we made this decision then to sort of actively embrace DGNB and so really integrate that into our process, was then seeing, okay, well, actually, here's an effective quality catalog that can support us in sort of good design that's progressive from a sustainability point of view, but also process management quality sort of controls that is helping support a more efficient process. And that's coming back a little bit then to that also then keeping costs down, both the cash cost, but more so I would say the resource cost. And here then for us as a company, what this means is that we've become a much more articulate buyer of certification services, but also I'd say so that goes hand in hand, and when so being a more articulate buyer of in terms of the specifications to our contractors of what is it that we as an owner and developer want to achieve, and what are our prioritized areas, what is it that we really see drives tenant value and property value, as well as then our sustainability ambitions. So within our prioritized areas, which then so you say this is I'm not saying that this is sort of perfect, and of course reality always resists and pushes back, but at least we have a much more informed starting point than we've had before. So I think this is great, and that clarity is really also making it so much easier for internal teams to feel effective, know what to do, when, and how, basically. So if you go to the next one, so what we've done here is then we have, in order to then for our teams to become effective, then we have worked through sort of then the DGNB scheme together with our own, so the DGNB schemes, development schemes together with sort of our own internal management systems, and particularly then specifically the build specification programs that we have for our different products. And then we have taken the DGNB system and the requirements and specifications And so converted what is then organized as sustainability categories into and expressed as sustainability features into just what's development design specifications or development process elements. And then that means that we can then use that sort of directly in our development programs. And then we've added on that then sort of a drafting of action templates for interaction with service providers that supports our data management, also then the certification processes, so that this is then, as we see it, it is really a fantastic improvement to our ability to deliver sustainable buildings without the same type of sort of fears of cost that contractors and others had in the past. So the that, if we go to the next sort of slide here, so where we see this then playing out, and this is then in terms of the value side. So let's say that we're looking at somewhere around 1% or so in cost, GAV, for the certification and the sort of the features, if you will, that we're achieving here. Then on the value side and the upside and the benefits of this, then there's, if we look at the investment and property level, one is sort of sourcing, so access to projects. We see that it is today in the Nordics a license to operate, if you will, so to in many senses to get access to land for development, then from municipalities and also other local stakeholders. Let's say if we're working with local pension fund, then certification is a requirement. So then stepping to the next part, if you click on the slide there, looking at the LPs sort of or pension funds and the like, then and sort of getting them to invest with us regardless of the format, then sustainability at large is a license to operate for us today, and certification is one important component of that, and especially then because it's the component that helps them articulate and aggregate and summarize a picture, which otherwise is far too complex for them. So we find ourselves that this is sort of in terms of so where are we heading towards, then that certification, it's a must for us in order to be in business if you go out 3 years into the future. And then if you go to the next one on tenants. Oh, sorry, it jumps a bit here. Okay, exit. So let's go straight for the exit because I see I'm out of time here. So to give you an example, then where are we? So this is, of course, and I don't know the Spanish market at all, but where we're at least is that we have then a general trend of sustainability, and the summary communication form of that then is the main certification schemes. And here last month, for instance, we did one of the largest, I think it was second largest residential transaction in Denmark, where we sold the portfolio, and we had there then in that process a large number of bidders, and the step down from the local pension funds that were requiring certification as a prerequisite for them to bid and participate or to buy the properties, and then step down to the next those investors, next highest bidders that were not requiring certification, in this case then so explicitly DGNB certification, then that was approximately 4% GAV terms, which then on a sort of levered basis, in this case there was some 60% LTV or plus, so almost adding up to 10% difference on equity. So suddenly then that alone, of course, is, when we look at comparing to the cost side of things, I'm not saying it's like that every time, but I'd say that if you look to the future, if you have, as we have now, then a trend of local pension funds demanding certification on their own portfolios across the board, that also means they're demanding it when they're buying. So for us, suddenly the exit universe means, and we see the same trend in the other countries coming, albeit a bit behind, but still the writing is on the wall. Step out 4 or 5 years in time, and it's not a premium, you could say, is rather a penalty that you can't get liquidity on properties if you don't have certification on them. So I think that's sort of then looking at investment level. We're out of time, so I won't touch, so I'll go into the next ones, but tenants, of course, but not least, I'd say also just in terms of company purpose and looking at our ability to attract talent. You can continue clicking here because I'm out of time, but then the sort of sustainability, at least sort of in the Nordics, it's so for us as a company, it's so key in order to be aligned and achieve our purpose. But I would say also to attract talent today for us, then it is a key. And lastly, I'd say also meaningful. So linking to the purpose, I'd say also that it becomes much more meaningful journey because you suddenly are part of a journey, and you get a different sort of market influence, which is also, I think, so providing huge energy for the organization as a whole. And here, then once again, you could say because certification is the distilled sort of form of communicating and summarizing this, it definitely sort of plays an important role in achieving also these aspects, which are of course much more intangible, abstract, but I would say for the long-term success of our company, as important. So yeah, sorry about running a bit 1 minute over time here, but thank you very much, and apologies for the late start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gustaf. No problem at all running over 1 minute. I mean, we are running over 1 hour and a half, more or less, because of technological problems. So in that sense, it's no problem at all listening 1 minute or 5 minutes more to this kind of explanations, in which I really was surprised that the bottom line of your message is saying that the whole chain, value chain of the building sector in Denmark, from the funders, from the people, the entities who are really financing from the beginning on, that they're putting it as a requirement, a basic requirement, that you have to do it on a sustainable way, which means that the market is ready just to accept this kind of projects and nothing else. And that's a big step if you can reach that as a market, in which you don't have to convince anymore the people. I mean, you're just saying this is a standard, this is the new normal, we have to do it like that. And in that sense, using a certification system like DGNB is just a guarantee, just someone, yeah, as you said, a common language through the whole building process, from the first moment on that you take decision, from the investment, from the financing calculations, and then the project and the buildings and the tenants and the owners, who are really understanding that if you speak the same language, the project is not just, or the end product is not a cost, but it's an extra value. I think this is a really powerful message that I could understand in your presentation. So thank you very much. I hope that once you
and
reach...
just to Bruno,
yeah.
just so I don't miscommunicate here, I'd say that this is a journey, of course, where we see that that's the clear direction, right? So I would say that if you look in the Danish context, where we did this transaction last month, there you have that the major pension funds have already made the declaration that they will see certification on their entire portfolios, which also means that they want to see certification on things that they buy into their portfolios. So it's not all pension funds yet, and not all sort of pools of capital, but I would say that once you pass a certain critical mass, then to your point, then it sort of becomes a market standard. And I completely agree with you that while it is a journey to get there, I think that if it's sort of through a combination of that with EU taxonomy and other drivers, then yeah, that's where we will get to, just as you need your PwC or Ernst & Young accounting numbers at the property financials in order to sell it. You also need some sort of quality assurance of the product from a sustainability perspective.
Even though you're saying that you're not still there where you want to be, I mean, at least I think the Danish market is starting to see the beginning of really that process in which everybody is aligned, and it really takes maybe 5 or 10 years, but I suppose things will accelerate. And as you said, taxonomy is one of these strong instruments from the European Union, who's going to oblige somewhere or giving an extra push to include all these sustainability criteria from the beginning on, from the financial decisions makers on, which is a powerful tool too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Keep in contact.
Yes.